Okay, so this is the short teaching on Tara practice and how to do a retreat. Before that, of course, we should take refuge and offer mandala. I go for refuge to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha from now until enlightenment. I'll work for the benefit of all sentient beings. May all beings be happy. I go for refuge to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha from now until enlightenment. I'll work for the benefit of all sentient beings. May all beings be happy. I go for refuge to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha from now until enlightenment. I'll work for the benefit of all sentient beings. May all beings be happy. Okay. They say that when receiving tantric teachings, you should see yourself as a deity. So in this case, you would emulate yourself as being green Tara, and then feel that you're in the playground of Tara's enlightenment, the playground of enlightenment. You and all sentient beings are Tara, and the game that's being played is the game of enlightenment. So with that thought, then you have the basis of your tantric practice. What's unique about Tantra is, and although it would certainly apply to, generally being a Buddhist, that, we work for the benefit of all sentient beings in the Mahayana presentation, but in the Tantra, there's a little bit different in the sense that there's a sense of familiarity, in the sense, let's say that you're from Finland or Norway or Canada for myself, and then you're traveling, you're in a foreign country, and then you meet another Canadian, you go, oh, it's so nice to meet you, and you have this natural sense of affinity. So when you see yourself as being Tara and you feel everybody else is Tara, that's quite similar in the sense of you should have this sort of natural sense of connection. Oh, you and I were on the same page, we're the same thing, we're actually the same deity, Tara. And although, of course, sentient beings do many weird things, you can feel that you are interacting with their potential of becoming enlightened, their potential of becoming Tara, rather than, if you still have a little bit of trouble. Okay, I'm sorry for Christian. I'm not sure that this is a live class, so the other classes are available on my YouTube channel. Okay. Anyway, so coming back to then, there's this natural sense of affinity with other people, and that's, you could say, a unique quality of Tantra in the sense of that you try to establish this sense of camaraderie or affinity with everybody. And then the game you're playing is the game of becoming more enlightened, both in yourself and with other people. Of course, the more proficient you come in yourself to become more enlightened, then you have more ability to be helpful with others. So anyway, Tantra has a psychologically a beneficial perspective, which can be helpful for us in our practice. Because remember, we are the Mahayana school, which is, we're working not only for ourselves, but for the benefit of everybody. And with that thought, then we have a sort of a more expansive attitude. And of course, if you appreciate that we're all interdependent, I and the whole universe is interdependent. There's not one atom of independence existing anywhere. Then within that framework, may I be like a stick of incense that makes the air more fragrant in my area. So even though I can't affect the whole of the universe, depending on my karma, how much I can help, but at least I am continually, constantly in the nature of being of benefit, like a stick of incense naturally, irrespective of the environment that the incense is in, it just naturally makes its perfume and will benefit the area. So with those thoughts. Now, in doing a retreat, so we've covered the sadhana. Now, I gave you a quite simple sadhana. I didn't make it overly elaborate. If you'd like a more elaborate one, I'd recommend going to fpnt.org. You can find lots of green Tara practices there, and they have extensive teachings too. I mean, by Lama Yeshe and Lama Zopa, and then even there's like mudras and such. But we're looking for sort of an essential practice that would be actually meaningful for ourselves. So with that thought then. So you have a sadhana, you don't have a commitment to do it every day, but at least you should try to do the mantra every day. It's like making a cell phone call. So every day you make a little phone call to Tara. You of course have the attitude that I am a bodhisattva. I'm working towards becoming enlightened. I'm using the technique of identifying and Tara's enlightened activity. And that's her unique quality, is that she is very flexible and adaptable for situations. She has complete enlightened activity, perfect enlightened activity. So that's the context of what we're doing. Now, when you do a retreat, there's three types of retreat. You can do a retreat of mantra counting, like numbers, 100,000 is the standard. You can do a retreat of time, for example, a weekend, or you can do a retreat of till you have a vision, of which that would be obviously the hardest, but the first two are the ones that we maybe should focus on. Now, a standard Tara retreat of 100,000 mantras, and actually you do 110,000, you do an extra 10,000, okay? That's the standard retreat of Tara. Takes about 7 to 10 days, just depending on how many sessions you can do. Obviously, I'm talking about doing 3 or 4 sessions a day, so it is a retreat. I am withdrawing from my sort of general activities, other than maybe I have to go to the store and buy some groceries or something like that. But generally, I'm trying to really just sort of be focused on Tara and my practice. The actual term for the Tibetan language is called a nyampa, which means to get close. So a retreat, of course, has the idea of withdrawing from sort of external activity. But the word used, within the Tibetan language would be to get close to Tara. And so same thing, you withdraw yourself from sort of general, activities, and you focus on sort of, I'm going to spend a weekend, or well, in this case, we're doing 100,000 mantras, like however long that takes to get close with Tara. Okay, so that's the mantra count. The time, again, you can do all sorts of times. You can do like a Friday evening through until Sunday afternoon, or you can do from Friday evening through all the following week until the following weekend, and then Sunday. So it's like 10 days. There's all sorts of ways you can do time. You can even do a one-day retreat if you wanted to. Just sort of, tomorrow is my 1 day of getting close with Tara. That's time, and those are beneficial, especially if you're working, that you just periodically do it. Lama Thupten Yeshe said that every year you should at least try to do one retreat. And that would, best would be like if you could do one whole week, like 10 days of Friday all the way through until the week Sunday. That would be a very good thing to do. And just, it means is that you're really putting emphasis to your spiritual practice. And when we talk about spirituality, it's important to recognize that doesn't mean that you're some sort of strange person. If the focus of your life is materiality, that means my money, my house, my car, my job, all of those things, that's a material focused life. A spiritual focused life, in Buddhist terms, is inner quality. It's not that like I'm a vegetarian and I don't do anything harmful. Those are good things to do if you want. But the real emphasis of a spiritual life is I'm putting emphasis to things which are not so material. In this case, Buddhism, inner quality. And my inner quality would be, I have a natural sense of generosity, I have good ethics, I'm patient with difficult situations, I'm excited about my spiritual practice, I meditate to get more in touch with myself, and I have a wisdom appreciating how's the nature of reality. Now, that's an inner quality. Okay, anyway, so whether you do a mantra counting retreat or whether you do a time retreat, those are just, you're getting closer to Tara, okay? Now, the second thing is, okay, let's talk about place. Obviously, if you have a place that you can go and be very quiet and not too disturbed, that's good. So if you say go in the country or something like that, that would be beneficial, where you have less distraction. Then of course not. Then if you have to do it in your own house, whether it's in your bedroom or whether it's in a quiet part of your house. That would be a second sort of physical location. When you're going to do it, you, of course, set up an altar and you have a cushion. So the altar, again, this is just a simple retreat. We're not talking about incredible detail. You'd have a picture of Tara of some sort, whether it's black and white or color, whatever you can find. There's lots available online that you can easily access. So you have an image of Tara. And you would do at least a minimum of 8 bowls of water. Now, those represent the 8 offerings, which is water for the mouth, water for the feet, flowers, incense, light, perfume, food, and music. That shows up in longer sadhanas. If you're doing this a really short sadhana, then you can do, again, just like 8 little bowls of water. There's little cups, bowls, and maybe you're familiar with the Tibetan style of that. That's for, those are the offerings to Tara. If you're doing a lot of self-identification with Tara, you do a second row of 8. But the first row of 8 go from the left to the right. And that's closer to the Tara image. The second set of 8 goes from the right to the left. And that's for you. That's for you're making offering to yourself as being Tara, for water for your mouth, water for your feet, flowers, incense, light, perfume, food, and music. Again, this is all in longer sadhanas. The sadhana you have doesn't include this, but it's just to give you a sort of an overview. If you really don't have, you really don't have much practice in Buddhism, you're not much familiar with anything, the minimum you at least have is a picture of Tara and put some sort of offering in front of it. Food, fruit, or something like that. Cookies or something like that would be a thing you could do. But that's this sort of no practice of Buddhism particularly, just I want to invoke Tara. Tara is available to you, just a question of your motivation and things. So you can do that. If you get a little bit more elaborate, then you have the altar, Tara, you have 8 bowls of water and then 8 bowls. And again, there's lots of teachings on this. In fact, maybe I'll do a YouTube video in the next week about setting up altars for doing retreats. So I can give more detail. But basically, that's the offering to Tara, offering to self. And just in case you're curious, why water? Because water is plentiful. We're not miserly with water. It's clean, it's pure. So that's the idea that why we use water in the bowls. Obviously you can use food and other things, incense or something like that. But the basic thing is it's just water. Okay, so coming back to then, that's the altar. Then the cushion. Now, when you do a retreat, you want to have one cushion that you do not move for the period of the time of the retreat. Now, it can just be a thin cushion, a small carpet, and then that's the base. And then on top of that, you can put extra cushions to make it more comfortable for yourself. Or if, for example, you're like myself, I'm old, I normally meditate in a chair because I can't sit cross-legged for really long periods of time. So you put a chair on top of that mat, that cushion or whatever. Okay, so for yourself as the person doing the retreat, the most bottom thing is a carpet, a cushion that does not move for the period of the retreat, however long the retreat will be. On top of that, you can put extra cushions that you can move around, maybe one for your knees, one for your back or something. Or if you're doing it in a chair, then you put a chair on top of that. Then when you actually start, you do a mantra, which is blessing the cushion. And for those of you, because you do yoga, one of the words is asana. So it's Om, which means my body, speech, and mind are integrated. Vajra, which means indestructible. Asana, which means the yoga posture. Sa is earth. Okay, so what you do is you sit on your cushion, your chair, whatever it is. You take your right hand and you touch the ground, or if you're sitting in a chair, you just put it over your right knee. But you feel that you're touching the ground. And you say Om Vajra Asana Sa. Om Vajra Asana Sa. Om Vajra Asana Sa 3 times. That way you've consecrated your cushion. Okay. Now it can be that that someone comes in and cleans your bedroom or something like that, moves the cushion. Don't be so don't be neurotic about it. But the idea is that this cushion has been blessed now I'm going to do a retreat for a weekend, for a week, for 100,000 mantras, whatever it is. And every day I'm going to do my session on this. Okay, so that's the blessing of the cushion. Now you have your little sadhana, so you have an incredibly brief little sadhana I gave you. As I said, you can go and find longer sadhanas to Tara. And maybe, I was thinking maybe in the end of August, I can do another class with you all, and I'll do a long sadhana with lots of little detail. But right now we're just following up on the little sadhana that I gave you. So I'll be in touch, of course, with you about organizing a longer presentation of a sadhana with offerings and mudras and things like that. But for right now, let's just talk about a simple retreat. So we have the altar, we have a picture of Tara, we have some offerings in front of it, we have our seat, we just blessed it. Okay, then we would have a small table or something that has your prayers on it. Okay, and then you'd have a mala. No, I actually don't have a mala here for me. Your mala should have 108 beads. Sometimes they have 110, but basically 108 is the normal for a thing. And they should be small. You know, I know lots of people love these great big malas, you know, but when you're doing mantra, you don't want this great big thing in your hands, which is really sort of difficult. You want a little mala, maybe no much more than like something like a necklace. All of my malas are tiny. Maybe the beads are no bigger than just the end of my baby finger. Okay, 108 beads. Again, your malas are quite common to find nowadays, so they're not difficult. But I would recommend small beads. Okay, so you have your little table, you have your sadhana, and then you have a mala. Okay, now when you do the mantras, this is a right hand tantra. There's left-handed tantras and right-handed tantras. The left-handed tantras are more with the style of Heruka and Chakrasamvara. Right-handed tantras are the general ones, Buddha Shakyamuni, Tara, Avalokiteshvara. Okay, they're equal. It just depends, a little bit different technique. So if it's a right-hand tantra, you have your mala in your right hand. You would hold it in front of your heart, and you pull the beads towards you. Okay, now you can pull the beads over your first finger and thumb. You can pull the beads over those two fingers, like there. Okay, so irrespective of how you want to pull the beads, but the thing is that, and your hand starts in front of your heart, and you feel with each bead you pull it towards you, and you feel you're pulling in a blessing from Tara in front of you in your altar. Okay. So that's then like you do the mantra Om Tartu Tartu Om Tartu Tartu, so on. So you pull the beads towards you. You feel you're pulling blessings into you, and of course you are identified with Tara. So basically you have, I'm a Tara of the universe. Please help me. I'm making my phone call with the mantra to you. You know, Om Tartu Tartu, so on. Now the more important thing, though, really, actually, is the feelings and emotions you're having. That's the real attraction for Tara. I mean, doing the external, yes, it's good. It's you could say there's mental karma, verbal karma, and physical karma. That you're doing a retreat, physical karma. That you're doing the mantra, verbal karma. That you're now having certain thoughts and feelings, mental karma. So those three should try to be together. You sit in good posture, so a good yogic posture for meditation. Right hand in front of the heart, pulling the beads towards you. You recite the mantra. You do it softly. I think I described it last week. It's a whisper. So you're basically just doing Om Tartu. So it's a whisper, enough that you know you're saying the mantra, but somebody sitting beside you cannot hear you. That's when you're actually counting the mantras. When there are other meditations I'll talk about in a few minutes, but basically when you're doing a recitation of mantra, that's how you do it. Okay, so then you have the beads, you're pulling towards you, and a recitation. Now, as I'm saying, the more important thing is the feelings and thoughts you have. Now, this comes into your understanding of reality. And that applies to that on a relative level, I, in this physical universe, with all the other people, we're all interdependent. And we are. I mean, I'm interdependent with the atmosphere. I'm interdependent with the temperature of the air. I'm interdependent with the humidity. I'm interdependent with that I had breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I'm interdependent with my mother and father who gave me a body. I'm interdependent with the schools I went to and how I got educated. I'm interdependent with my friends. All of these, I am universally interdependent. Okay, so that's the understanding, a relative view on the nature of reality understanding. Okay, in that then, we'll come back to the idea that like I'm like a stick of incense. And all I have to do is be pure in my intention. Like a stick of incense doesn't have any doubts. It's burning. It's making perfume. So like that, you just have to have no doubt that I have the nature, I am interdependent, and may I be of benefit. And that's then enlightened activity. That's your love and compassion. So basically, you should just feel that coming out of your body. I mean, okay, remember in this sadhana, you have your big Tara, in your heart's a little Tara, in her heart's a little moon cushion with the mantra. All of that's how we did the previous class. So you just feel from that, from the tum syllable and from the little Om Tara Tu Tara Soa, which goes clockwise around the little moon cushion. You're having light comes, it fills up the Tara in your heart, fills up your body, and then it comes out of your body and goes in all directions, above, below, left, right, behind, and front, just Tara enlightened activity. And what it is it helps people figure out how to solve their problems, helps people be better in dealing with their issues. Remember, that's enlightened activity. Enlightened activity is being more skillful on how you deal with your life. Of course, finally becoming enlightened, that you just are totally skillful. But you know, we're moving towards that. We've identified with being Tara. We have Tara in front of us as an inspiration. We have the technique that we're going to do with our meditation. We have the wisdom. I and this universe are interdependent. But within that interdependence, I'm creating a certain attitude. I have a certain way of thinking about things. I am interdependent, and I am the nature of enlightened activity. I'm the nature of benefit. May I be beneficial to both whatever's going on inside of me and then with everybody else too. So when you do this, again, you don't need to be like, again, I use the word neurotic, but like, oh, it's only for other people, everything's for other people. No, you're included in that, you know. So bring your own problems into enlightenment. So if you've been hurt by somebody emotionally, may I bring my painful sense of self to a more enlightened position. May I bring my unhappiness to a more enlightened position. May I bring my sadness, my depression to a more enlightened position. Those are things that you're doing with that light inside of yourself. That if you have a depression, if you have some sadness, if you have some, I don't know, even some delusions, maybe you're arrogant and you're proud or you're competitive, whatever things, or low self-esteem. I mean, there's all sorts of delusions we have about ourselves. That you feel that the light energy fills you up and completely brings that to a more enlightened position. And if you do that in yourself, you'll have easy ability to help other people skillfully in the best way possible. So anyway, so that's the recitation of the mantra. You're pulling the beads towards your heart. Now, when your arm gets tired, which will be after 100 or 200 or 300 mantras, you can put your hand down on your right knee. This is right hand tantra, so your hand on the right hand knee, and you can rest your hand, or it can go on a cushion, so that you thing. So then you just keep doing it. But periodically, maybe pull your hand up to in front of your heart, and again, pull the beads in front of your heart. And we're talking about the center of your chest when we talk about heart. We're not talking about your physical heart. We're talking about the psychic heart, your chakra, which is the center of your chest. So that's the meditation. So that's with your mind. Now, I have a silly example that, like, you know, often when we come in front of an altar, so whether it's, you know, Jesus Christ or I don't know, Buddha or whatever, you know, where we're sort of, oh, you know, I pray to you, you know, please help me, like this and that, you know, whatever. And we're looking at the altar. But when we're Mahayana Buddhists, it's sort of interesting that what you do is the nature of the being that we're focused on, the Buddha, Tara, or whatever, they work for the benefit of sentient beings. It's like they're looking out. And I'm a bodhisattva. I'm trying to be of the same nature. So what you literally try to do is, you know, so to speak, is you turn around and you're looking the same direction. Sorry, there I'm saying, but you're looking in the same direction as Tara, you're looking for the benefit of all sentient beings. Now, of course, you're looking to benefit yourself, but you're also looking to benefit of others. So I sometimes think that Tara would be very impressed if you weren't just sort of like, you Tara, 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 but you say, no, Tara, your nature is for others. And so I want to be closer to you. So I'm going to be like you. I'm going to turn around and I'm going for the benefit of all sentient beings. So again, just some silly thoughts, but the thing is, it gives you sort of the right perspective. So although we have huge admiration and love for Tara, we want Tara to be part of our life. We want Tara to help us and to become more skillful and everything like that. The best way to actually accomplish that, to have Tara really in our heart, is that we start acting that way. I actually remember I met a Christian lady who was very fanatical about Jesus Christ. And she said, I pray every day to Jesus Christ with intensity, please, Jesus, visit me, please, Jesus, I want you to see your face, like this and that. And I said, very interesting, He says, but have you ever considered what's the nature of Jesus Christ? He's just love and compassion for everybody. Rather than being fanatical about Jesus Christ, why don't you get really strong feelings about, may I be of benefit? May all sentient beings have happiness and the cause of happiness. Then maybe Jesus Christ will appear in front of you. So just a thought. So anyway, it was a thing I shared with a Christian. I think the same thing applies to us, that if we would like to have a vision of Tara, which would be one of the retreats you could do, a little bit harder though, then basically be a bodhisattva, be of the nature of benefit. Be that stick of incense that's burning for the benefit of all, to make the universe a more fragrant place, beautiful place. Okay, so coming back to it, we have Tara, we have our altar, some offerings, we bless the cushion, we have our sadhana, we have a mala, we have intention, we then start your practice. Now, generally speaking, you start the practice the night before you start counting mantras, if that was to be the retreat. So let's say I'm going to do the retreat on the weekend. So your first session is Friday night, but that just sets up the motivation and everything. That sets up your altar. If you were doing a mantra counting retreat, it's not until Saturday morning that you start counting mantras. Okay. Now, if you're doing a time retreat, then Friday night you start the retreat and everything like that, but you really feel you've entered the retreat Saturday morning. Those are just a thing. So you do the first session the night before you actually start the full day of a retreat. Remember, I'm talking about doing retreats. I'm not talking about daily sessions or something like that. I'm talking about, I'm going to do a weekend. I'm going to do a week. I'm going to do 100,000 mantras, whatever. Okay. So that would be then you start the evening before. That's the sort of, you have everything set up, you have your motivation, you're all organized, and then the next morning you're into it. You're into your retreat. Okay. So that's, now we have that. Now, sessions. If you're a new person, 1 hour is a long time. If you're quite familiar with doing retreats, an hour and a half gets quite easy after some time. 2 hours even is quite easy, but that's with some practice. So let's be realistic. When I did, in the past when I've done retreats, I do either 5 or 6 sessions every day. Okay, so my first session would be something like at 5 in the morning. That goes from 5 until 6. Let's just say if I'm doing a 1 hour session, then I get up, I do some yoga, I do some exercise, I have some breakfast, maybe at 7:30 or 8. So it's a 2 hour break. Then I do my second session, that's 8 to 9, or maybe 9 to 10, but depends on yourself, okay? Then I have a little bit of break, maybe I have a cup of coffee. Then I do another session from 10 to 11 or 10 to 11:30. Now, what happens is, once you start doing a retreat, maybe the first day is a little bit hard, but by the second day, you're actually going to start to find you're enjoying it. And you can find you actually do 1 hour and 15 minutes and there's no problem. Or you get to an hour and a half, no problem. But that's because you're getting into the retreat. So at the beginning, don't push yourself. You don't want to sit so long that you're miserable. That's a really bad way to end your session. You want to do a session, maybe it's only 45 minutes, or maybe it's 1 hour, but you want to end with some happiness, because that's really good karma. Happiness validates the karma that you've been accumulating. So you do like, so anyway, so there's 3 sessions in the morning, then you break for lunch, 12 o'clock. Around 3 o'clock then, because you have a couple hours to digest, maybe you do some other prayers or something else. 3 o'clock till 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock till 4:30 is session number 4. Then you have again a short break. Then maybe 5 o'clock until 6:30 or something like that is the session number 5. And then again, you have a little break, go for exercise, go for a walk. And then from like 7:30 till 9 is the final session, and you go to bed. Okay, or you do whatever you want. So that's 5 or 6 sessions a day. Now, each one of you is unique. I'm just sharing with you some thoughts that I have. But once you get into the retreat, maybe you've got 4 or 5 days of retreat and you've been doing it, and you're finding you're easily doing 2 hours. There's no problem at all. And I'll discuss that in a minute. Okay, then you might find you're only doing 5 sessions, because each session is a lot longer. Okay, so that's the general idea for sessions. Now, the minimum, if you're doing a mantra counting retreat, but it's called a working retreat. So I want to accomplish 100,000 mantras. I'm going to do 1 session every day, minimum. I have to do 1 session every day, but I still have to go to work. And so maybe I can do 2 sessions, 1 in the morning and 1 at night, but in the middle of the day, I have to go to work. That's acceptable, but it's going to take you 2 or 3 weeks to accomplish it. But you have to do a session, 1 session every day on the cushion to be able to call it a mantra counting retreat of 100,000. Now that's mantra counting. If you're doing a time retreat, this wouldn't apply. But there's 2 styles. There's a closed retreat. I'm only doing Tara practice. Or it's a working retreat where I still have to go to work. I still have to buy vegetables and things like that. So that means I'm only doing 1 or 2 or 3 sessions a day. Again, depends on your timing. So the minimum is I have to do 1 session every day to be able to have what's called a mantra counting retreat of 100,000. I can do 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 sessions every day if I have the time and availability in a working retreat. But the minimum is 1 session every day for mantra counting. If you're doing a time retreat, I don't think that would apply. You don't need to worry about it, although obviously you do a session every day. Okay, so that's the sessions. Now, the final session of the day, spend a little bit more time. So whatever your retreat was, whether it was 5 sessions, 4 sessions, 6 sessions a day, the last session put a little bit more time to dedication. Like I take this day of meditation I did, or I take these last 3 or 4 days of retreat that I've done, and I dedicate it to a more enlightened life. And that more enlightened life I offer for the benefit of all. That's one thing you can do. Second thing you can do, you can dedicate it towards somebody. So let's say you'd like to dedicate it for your mother or your father who are having some problems, or a friend, or your child, or something. Same thing then. The final session, you put a little more emphasis to the dedication. I'm dedicating this for this person. May they have health, or may they have no problem. May they have a more enlightened attitude to deal with their situation. That's number 2 style of dedication. Number 3 is for yourself. And so maybe you'd like a particular experience or something. So I'll give an example. Let's say you're going to move to a new city and you're not quite sure. You're thinking, do I move to the new city or no, I don't? I have this job here, but I have a job there. It's going to be more money, but I don't know. So you have some doubt. Now, that's a good time to do a retreat. In Buddhist terms, use your spiritual practice to help you make better decisions. So you have 2 cities to live in, 2 different jobs. Which one's better? Well, ask Tara. So what you would do is maybe you could do it in a weekend retreat, or maybe you do it a 5 or 6 day retreat if you have the opportunity. And so every night what you do, I mean, in the daytime, you just do the meditations of Tara that like I'm light, I'm benefiting myself, I'm benefiting sentient beings. But your final session, you would put a dedication to Tara, please help me understand which is better. Now, the way you ask the question is important. So you could say, Tara, I'm going to stay in this city. Is this good? Because if you ask the question in an ambiguous way, you won't get a good answer. You say, okay, or maybe in this case, because you're already living in this city, you don't need to ask that question. You already know what it's like. So maybe you think, okay, Tara, I'm going to move to this other city. I'm going to move to, Oslo, or I'm going to move to, I don't know, Denmark or something like that. Okay. So you say, Tara, is that a good decision? And so you do a prayer. You dedicate the final session to, if I move to Denmark, what would it be like? And you do the prayer and the thing, and then you dedicate. Then what you're going to do is you're going to look at your dreams that night. Now, it's said that if you're really good, the first night you'll have an indication. If you're not quite as good, you're not quite as clear, maybe you have some doubts, I don't know, whatever could be the problem, it might take you 2 or 3 nights to finally get a vision, an experience of, will this work for you or not? Okay, so that's a third way that you can use Tara practice to help you with big decisions. Okay, so for example, just if you have a good Dharma practice, Tara will show up automatically. if you're coming to a place where you're going to make a decision to go this way or this way, if you have a good Dharma practice, often you'll automatically have indications about which path to go in. But Tara practice is beneficial for this. She's very beneficial for giving you a sense of direction. It's one of the special qualities of Tara practice. And so very, very good practice to do every day. But again, the third style of dedication is, I have this question. Should I marry this boy or girl? Should I move to another city? You could do something like, should I invest my money in this particular business? I don't know. I mean, there's all sorts of questions you can ask. And then you sort of you do your dedication for Tara in the last session. And in the nighttime, you might have some interesting dream, which gives you some indication of how it's going to be. Okay. Now, final thing, dreams. When you do a Tara retreat, the normal way that you're going to have some indication that Tara is with you is that you have a dream. Now, there are 3 or 4 periods of sleep. So when you go to sleep at night, the first part, maybe 10 or 11 o'clock until midnight, not good dreams. They're not the ones that you want to rely on. Then from midnight till 2 in the morning, still not the best dreams. From 2 until 4, getting better. From 4 until 6 or 4 until 5, the last period of the night is the best indication that the dream is going to be more informative for you. Okay, so this is standard Buddhist practice. It's the way it's taught. So if, for example, you're doing a retreat, weekend retreat, mantra counting retreat, you're asking the question to Tara, and even you don't need to actually do a retreat if you want. I mean, just in the evening time, you do a prayer and mantras for Tara, asking you for some indication for the decision you might want to make. You don't need to do a retreat, but obviously it's more beneficial. Then the last part of the night, when you're sleeping, those dreams can be more informative. But again, you need to be a little bit careful. That one is, how dedicated are to your Dharma practice, and things. So if you're, let's say, not a very strong practitioner, maybe you're not going to get really clear results. If you've got a good, what's the meaning of my life? The meaning of my life is, I'm a bodhisattva. I practice Tara. I try to be of benefit to the world around me. If that's the theme of your life, the meaning of your life, then Tara can interact with you a lot more. If it's like, today I like to practice, and tomorrow, no, I want to have a holiday, and I just want to have a good time, and no, I'm not going to do any meditation. Well, that's who you are, then that's what you're going to get. You're not going to have anything. So just be mindful of it. What's the meaning of your life? What's the theme of your life? And I'm not talking about being obsessive and intensive. Just when you wake up in the morning, what's the meaning of your life? Is it just all about you being happy, or is it trying to be of some benefit? And as you move through the day, try to be a little bit of benefit. And when you have a difficult situation, do a little bit of Tara mantra saying, may I be more enlightened in this situation. That's putting everything in your life into a spiritual practice. least that's what Buddhism tries to do. Okay, so there we have then finally the indications that could come from doing a retreat. Okay, so I think that covers it. Now, again, how long you do the retreat. So let's say you're doing a 1-day retreat, well, then you do extra prayers in the evening time. If you're doing a weekend retreat, you do extra prayers like a Saturday night, and then on Sunday in the daytime, whenever you do the last session, again, you do a lot of dedication. That would be fine. If you do a mantra counting retreat, it'll take about 7 to 10 days, depending on how many sessions. Again, towards the end, you say, thank you very much, Tara, and feel she absorbs into you. Again, so the closure of your retreat, again, whether it's a 1-day, weekend, or 10 days, mantra counting, at the end, and you can feel that then Tara, she absorbs into you, and then she totally blesses you, and of course you can take your altar down and such, and it's finished. Okay, now the next, somewhere at the end of August or beginning of September, I'm going to do one more class for you all, and I'm going to do it based on a long sadhana with mudras and mantras and all sorts of stuff, and I'll give a lot more detail. So today I gave you what's called a simple version of how to do a retreat, how to get a relationship with Tara to make it useful for yourself. Okay, so that's what we've accomplished today. So that's what I wanted to cover for today. I'm going to open it to questions. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so hopefully that Christian, you found the link. Okay, if anybody has a question, again, you can just unmute yourself. Okay, so Heinrich, I guess you can unmute and just ask a question, and then when we're finished, whoever else has a question.
Thank you, Lamala. What is the main difference between a Nyampa and a Leirung in terms of retreat?
Leirung means suitable for activity. Lei is activity, rung is suitable. So that means you're doing 100,000 mantras normally. So okay. Leirung is I have accomplished the right number of mantras, and now I am suitable to do other activities. That's Leirung. Nyampa just is I'm getting close. So that's a different. Nyampa does not have to require numbers of mantras or anything. It's just a dedication. Whereas a Leirung would normally mean I've done a certain number of mantras. Then depending on the deity, maybe I have to do a fire ritual. For example, if you did a Tara retreat, a Leirung is 110,000 mantras. Okay, that's the Leirung. You don't have to do a fire ritual with Tara. Okay.
Thank you, Lamala.
With standard Tara. Okay.
Thank you, Lamala.
Anybody else have a question? Yes, Miriam.
Thank you, Lamala. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. I actually have 2 questions. One that's like practical, related to retreats, and another one that's more general. Is that okay?
Yes, of course.
Cool. So the first one is just a small practical question. I'm not experienced with retreats, so I'm just wondering, what do we do with the offerings afterward, whether it's water or something perishable? Like, what do we do with?
Well, okay, if it's okay, again, I will do a more detailed presentation of a stricter retreat at the end of August. Okay, so that's one. If you put water bowls on your altar, well, the water we use normally, just give it to your plants. If you have a plant in your house or plant in your garden, put it in your garden. There's nothing special with that. If you had a torma, which means it's a little ritual cake that you're offering to Tara, that one I'll describe again when I do the next class. But basically, if it's just an offering to Tara, you can eat it. If it's an offering to something external, maybe spirits or something, then you try to put it in, well, let's say in a park or in a garden or something, in a little bit of a higher place. So you don't just throw it on the ground. You put it on your roof if you could. Like here in Mexico, all the roofs are flat and they're concrete. So we throw all of our offerings on the roof and then the birds eat it. But, again, it depends where you are. So maybe if you go to a park, you can put it in a bush, so it's a little bit off the ground, or maybe up on a ledge of a fence or something like that. If it's an offering to something that's not directly Tara, then that's how you do it. If it's an offering to Tara or any of the other specific Buddhas, you can eat it because it's a blessing.
Thank you so much. My second question, I'm sorry, it might be a little bit more like general and vague, but it concerns our motivation in our daily lives. Because obviously we have all taken on this commitment to be bodhisattvas, to work for the benefit of all sentient beings. But I mean, we're also imperfect. We're human beings. Our motivation might not always be perfect from day to day. Misanthropic thoughts can pop up. We might have thoughts and feelings in our daily lives that are not 100% bodhisattva-like. So I was just wondering if you have any word of advice about how to deal with that, what to do when this happens, and could Tara practice itself help with this?
Yes. Okay. All right. First off, okay. Yes, none of us are perfect. I joke. I say I was a monk for 14 years. It was so easy. I could practice so well. I then got married and lived with that wife for 18 years. Okay. Then I understood how well I could practice. Okay. Lots of errors. And now I'm in my second marriage. I've been with her for 20 years. And I'm a little better. Okay. I'm just sharing with you that come on, we do the best we can. But the way that you deal with things, like, for example, I mean, okay, I'm married and my wife and I have differences of opinions and things like that I try to learn off of it. So yes, I make mistakes, but the thing is, when I've made a mistake, I mean, yes, I can say, oh, bad Jampa, I mean, that's not beneficial. That's actually guilt. Whereas if I could say, whoa, I made a big mistake there. I wasn't very smart with that relationship or with those words or something. Okay, I'm going to be better. So you could say it's literally actually enlightened activity. You bring enlightened activity to the mistakes you've made. So the mistakes we make are not bad. They're the ground, they're the basis of trying to learn how to be better. In fact, I mean, actually, Buddha Shakyamuni was a genius. I mean, you really have to look at Buddha. He was so smart, because the first thing he talked about was the noble truth of suffering. He says, recognize your suffering. And there's a cause for that suffering. And there can be freedom from that suffering. And this is the technique. Those are the Four Noble Truths. So when you make a mistake, and we all do, I mean, we're bodhisattvas, but we make mistakes. So there's our noble truth of suffering. But you say, oh, that's painful to me, it's painful to others. Oh, but there's a cause for it. My misunderstanding, my not being very skillful. Okay. Oh, but I'm going to turn my mind towards refuge. I'm going to turn my mind to be a better person. So we don't judge yourself to say I'm bad. No, absolutely bad. Do not do that. But just look at it. Okay. And the example is that if you have, some excrement, well, if you put grass and soil with it, you can compost it and it can turn into fertilizer. So the same thing, take the things that you make on yourself and say, I'm going to compost this. I'm going to put this together with some other things. Again, if it was compost, it would be grass and dirt, and you take it over and then you turn it over. Like you compost something to make it turn into fertilizer. Well, the same thing with your delusion. You say, okay, I got angry, or I lied, or whatever I did, okay, that's my shit. And I'm not going to reject it. I'm going to turn it into compost. I'm going to make it some way useful for me. That this wasn't beneficial. That wasn't the best way to deal with the situation. And I'm going to learn how to be better. Okay. So that's the correct way to deal with it as a Buddhist and a Bodhisattva, that we're learning off of our mistakes. And slowly we get better. I mean, especially if you've got a relationship that's 5, 10, 15 years going, you have this great opportunity, because there's always going to be some issue. So you always say, okay, I've got to learn a little bit here. I've got to learn a bit there. Okay. So it makes it's good. I mean, I used to joke and say that, well, as a monk, you got easy life, nothing's going to challenge you. And if it does, you just walk away because you're a monk or a nun. When you're married or in a relationship, no way, baby, you got to deal with it. Either that or you're going to get divorced. And then you just take your luggage of the mistakes you made to the next relationship, and to the next relationship, and to the next relationship. So no, learn how to try to deal with them. Anyway, so just that's my thoughts. Okay. And yes, it's difficult, but we try.
Sorry, just to follow up very quickly, does that also count when we talk about more like fundamental things, like, for example, I'm asking this question because the other day, I had a moment in my mind where I was like, okay, so we're supposed to be helping everyone, all sentient beings, but humans are hopeless. Like our society, our politics, all of that. I had this like 1 second of like misanthropic feeling. And does that also like factor into what you're saying now?
I would be a little careful of being too strict on yourself. Yes, we have lots of thoughts, but okay, I mean, okay. Yeah, I mean, we we're in a relationship, we're in a situation, and we have this like, I hate this person. Okay, like I really hate this person. Like it comes up thought. Okay, then you say, whoa, that wasn't very nice. So I mean, you can say, don't be so intense. Rather than say, okay, hey, that was a unhappy thought. Okay, so hey, unhappy thought. I'd like you to make you more enlightened. This situation, this person, obviously they're really obnoxious. Well, if I can, may I help them become a little bit less obnoxious? So it's again, it's always just trying to. I mean, we're not perfect. So if we say I need to be perfect, we're going to have a really hard practice. If I say I'm trying to be better, and I will try to continually working on myself, that will increase and improve, and you will finally get better. But if you're very, let's say, fragile, like to just, I had this negative thought, no, okay, do a breathing, like switch to your breathing, do a few breaths and say, okay, I'm going to bring that into enlightenment. That'll be the more realistic way. If you're too intense, you're going to get very stressed, and then that's not beneficial. Like stress is not beneficial. So really good to have breathing meditation with mindfulness, because it just you're grounded. And if you build up a good familiarity with mindfulness breathing meditation, you can invoke it just by turning your attention to your breathing, because you have familiarity. And that can help you say, whoa, that was a really angry thought I just had. Okay, so okay, that's not so beneficial. I'm going to try to be better. It's not like a big fight. It's like, hey, I'm going to try to be better. I'm going to try to bring my angry little mind to a more enlightened position. Slowly. So one of my Tibetan lamas always said to me, he said, slowly. So that's the better way to think about it. No, it's not that we allow ourselves to be, we're going to get angry. And then actually studying is really good. For example, Shanti Deva says, as long as you hold on to the thought of your anger, you will burn. So it's like if you hold on to a hot fire or a coal, you will burn. Okay. If you can let go of it, you'll stop burning. So anytime someone says like, oh, you're a horrible person, if you hold on to that horrible person, you're going to burn and be angry. If you can let go and say, okay, that person has their problems. That's fine. Maybe I can learn from this. That you let go, you shifted. Okay. So anyway, slowly.
Thank you so much, Lamala.
Sure, good. It's a good question. It's an excellent question. Thank you. Other questions, commentaries?
I have a question, Lamala.
Hi, Sarah.
Hello. So there was this woman that I was of service to today, and she went through some really painful stuff lately. And I am quite an empathetic person, so I struggle, like I take on a lot of, I feel like I took on her pain, and it's hard for me to let it go, because I feel like it feels very like I struggle to let it go, and
Yes.
yeah, and I would love some reflections on that, how to like be of service, but at the same time having those boundaries in a way.
Yeah. No, it's good. If you're, there's a thing, we say, if you meditate, you'll get more peaceful. That's the big words on it. The little one down at the bottom is, I'm sorry, you're going to get more sensitive. So as a meditator, the other side of it is you're going to be more sensitive. You're going to pick up things a lot more, and they're going to impact you a lot more. But in one way, it means you're more alive. So the beneficial side is that you're not dead, you're not apathetic, you're alive, okay? So being a meditator means you're sensitive, means you're going to pick up something. And especially if somebody talks about something that might touch you a little bit, their pain, it might wake up your own pain a lot. Or maybe you're just very sensitive and you pick up a lot about somebody else's energy. So you do need to be a little bit mindful of that, like how much do you absorb somebody else's feelings and thoughts and such. That's part of being mindful, that you're sort of conscious of that. So if you take in too much, yeah, you're going to be upset. So His Holiness the Dalai Lama actually talks about this in a very nice way, because if you think about the Dalai Lama, he's the God King of Tibet. The Tibetans are totally devoted to him with incredible love and things, and he's their savior. So you're in India, and every week Tibetans come out of Tibet. They've been brutalized, they've had their brothers and sisters killed, they've had everything stolen, they've had their daughter raped in front of them or something like that. And these people come in front of the Dalai Lama with their audience, and they say, like, they tell him all of these things, and he gets this. And it's not like once a week, it's 3 or 4 times a week, and not for like a month. The Dalai Lama's been in India for like 50 years, 60 years. So, and this is what he gets. So I use this as a good example for myself, in the sense of saying that wow, I mean, maybe once a month I hear some sad story. I mean, the Dalai Lama's got it every day of the week almost, okay, because he loves Tibet, he loves his people. Anyway, okay, so what the Dalai Lama said was, he said, I just go to my compassion. So rather than dwelling in the suffering of that person, yes, I hear the story of that person, but then I flip into my compassion for that person. So he actually changes. And what you can do is Tara Mantra, okay? So what you did was, you were a sponge, you absorbed all of this woman's story, but what you didn't do very much was something as a technique about that. You just absorbed it. So, and I'm not criticizing you, I'm just saying that because we all do this. But what you needed to do, as soon as you started to feel that you were being touched in a very emotional way by what this woman had to say, is you need to start the little motor inside of you, which is Tara Mantra, enlightened activity. May this lady find a solution. May this problem disappear. May this problem somehow be solved. That's your little mantra that you have to have going. And that's where mantras, I mean, one of the definitions of a mantra is protects your mind. So the point is that when you start getting very sensitive about somebody, yes, you're sensitive, but then do something with it, which would then flip into a mantra. So whether it's for the 2 best mantras are Om Mani Padme Hum, may you have happiness in the cause of happiness, or Om Tara Jatari Turi Soha, which is may enlightened activity come into your life and help you. Because if you're doing that, you're no longer just absorbing the pain, you're actually creating karma off of that. You're creating, may enlightened activity come into that. May somehow this woman find a solution. And then it comes down to skillful activity, because one of the big things is sometimes people just need to have someone to talk to. They just need to share it, and then somehow they come to a conclusion. We don't need to continually offer solutions. We just have to be there for them. Now, this is all part of communication workshops. I mean, I highly recommend attending communication workshops, learning how to listen twice as much as we say something. Again, these are excellent things to do. But the main thing in regards to your case was you didn't start up that little motor of Tara Mantra. And so I recommend that that's something that you basically do. And even though you can maybe not do much for this woman, at least you're doing the mantra. Maybe you can give her a hug. That's mantra and something a little more. maybe you can just listen to her, but again, you're still doing the mantra. Those are all activities of your compassion rather than just being sensitive. Okay?
Thank you, Lamla.
Sure. Anyway, as I say, remember that if you meditate, yes, you may get peaceful, but you'll also get more sensitive. Yeah. Okay, so we're actually been an hour, which is sort of what I like. Now, I would like to do a long sadhana with mudras and mantras and all sorts of stuff. I will work with Henrik on this about when's a good time to do that. Basically, the end of August is what I'm thinking, and he will publish that with your group. So that's something that can come up. So that's something we can do next. But right now, just focus on the things that I covered in the last videos. These are, well, the videos that I've recorded, I put on my YouTube site. Again, so the initiation, I think, is there. And then the second class I gave last week is there. It's under Jampa Shaneman YouTube, and it's under Tara Teachings. Okay, so you can find it there. So I think that's good for right now. Very good. Nice to be with you all.
Thank you, Lamla.
Okay, so let's dedicate, because we just did something. We spent an hour together with each other. So I dedicate this to a more enlightened life, my attendance to class and my practice. And that more enlightened life, I make that as my offering for the benefit of myself and all sentient beings. And then, Gewa di yurdu da lama sangi jugurne do ajigam lava giza goberjo chanju sinjo goje wagi barne gegashin gewa nyama mebe kondi kondi goberjo gewa kunda yonu damada drama choki palo monchashin satan langi yonu razode durji changi go mirgo show. Okay, so wonderful. Good to be with you all. And this will be available online in a few minutes. Okay, so big hugs and wishing you well.
Thank you, Lamla.